Hello and welcome to the Authority of Love on another Family Foundation Friday with our great co-host David Walls of the Family Foundation. Thank you, listeners, for joining us, or viewers, however you are doing so. David, thanks to you for joining us.
It's good to be with you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Now, as always, there's plenty to cover.
Yes.
We leave out a lot, so we can come back to it if we need to. But how have things been going for you?
Man, things are going well. We've been blessed to have all of our furniture and stuff moved back into our house,
Right.
so it feels like
Praise
we
the Lord.
live
Yeah.
at home again. Thankful for that. And then we just had a great weekend celebrating the resurrection. Great time at church and great time at home. We had a meal at our dining room table for the first time in several months.
Celebrating
and,
a lot of things, weren't you?
Did an Easter egg hunt out in the front yard, and Dad's getting really tricky with some of those eggs.
Nice,
so
nice.
they're getting older, so I got to up my game, put them a little higher in the trees.
Actually, in the bird's nest or something.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, we enjoyed a wonderful Easter weekend,
Yeah.
Good Friday and Resurrection Sunday. And we're in what most people would call, if they call it anything, Eastertide.
Yeah.
So we still reflect on that. But as believers, we should be continually reflecting
Yeah.
on that. That's the point of it. Obviously, there's a specific moment when we celebrate, but we should continually be reflecting on that. And we do so and pray that you as listeners are doing that. We had a great time with family.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first holiday after my dad passed, and so there was a little sorrow there.
Yeah.
But then you look and you got the two grandbabies
Yeah,
there, and
yeah.
they were wonderful and just enjoying it. And they're growing like weeds as they always do. I've tried everything with my kids; it didn't work. So anyway, don't blink, brother, because
Yeah.
before long you'll be
I know.
going through that, man. And so we want to cherish all those moments with our kids, and then now with our grandkids. You also had a pastor's briefing recently, didn't you?
Yeah, we
this
did
week?
this week, and got to give a thanks to one of our team members, John Razor, who's also a pastor himself. But he helped us put together a great pastor briefing and a legislative update recap, essentially in Bullitt County. Had a great time. Had a good group that was there. 3 state reps from that area were able to join us. Very thankful for that. But look, one of the things we like to do after the legislative session ends is just to remind folks about the good legislation that passed, the missed opportunities, and equip people about what are some of the issues that still need to be addressed. So we were thankful to do that. And I'll just also mention, if folks go to our website at KentuckyFamily.org, we have published a one-page legislative recap handout that has a short summary of all the pro-family bills that passed, some of the bad bills that were thankfully defeated, and some of the missed opportunities, as we always do. We'll also be putting that in our upcoming Citizen that we're working on right now as well. But encourage folks to check that resource. But some other interesting things been happening.
By the way, go to KentuckyFamily.org to get it online, and if
Yeah.
you get the Citizen, you'll be getting that
Yeah.
you mentioned there as well. You said something else. There is a couple of things, and one is local. That's happened, right?
Yeah.
At University of Louisville.
Yeah, a settlement in a very important case. If folks weren't familiar with this, but University of Louisville has now agreed to pay $1.6 million to Dr. Alan Josephson. So, and just to set the stage for this situation, Dr. Josephson was a professor at UofL, and several years ago spoke at a Heritage Foundation event and shared in his personal capacity
right, exactly. Yeah.
his very deep concerns about gender transitioning kids, essentially mutilating kids in their bodies.
The damage done to
yes,
them.
as you know, and very thankful and brave for someone in that capacity to do that.
Right.
And my understanding is he's been outspoken on that topic for a number of years. But after he did that, UofL essentially went after him and orchestrated a series of events where they demoted him and then ultimately fired him. And in some of the documentation now that's come out on this, very clear, it was a coordinated effort to target him because they disagreed with his views. So obviously very serious
Shut down his
free speech
free speech,
concerns. And so our good friends at Alliance Defending Freedom, ADF, were actually defending him. And just a quick synopsis, the case, or a portion of the case, had gone all the way up to the Sixth Circuit. And the Sixth Circuit had ruled that, yes, the university would essentially have to stand trial over the potential infringement of his First Amendment rights, and then instead of moving forward with that case, which I believe ultimately they would have lost resoundingly, the university has agreed to settle some justice. You can never look. Right. This is the thing we have to remember. This is a multi-year process where he's had, essentially the trajectory of his career forever altered. You just think about, I think this situation happened all the way back in 2020, so we're talking about five or so years. You're never going to get complete justice, but I'm very thankful that the university has not in this world. I'm very thankful that the university some vindication, and he said in a statement that was put out that he was glad that he finally received vindication for voicing what I know is true. Children deserve better than life-altering procedures that mutilate their bodies and destroy their ability to lead fulfilling lives. In spite of the circumstances I have suffered through with my university, I'm overwhelmed to see that this case has helped lead the way for other medical practitioners to see the universal truth that altering biological sex is impossibly dangerous. And it goes on, but a very strong statement, and I think indicative of a very truthful and sincere viewpoint that thankfully is continuing to build momentum, as you and I have talked about.
Well, and part of that, David, is that when we've talked about it, we've recognized that as there's a scripture that says what is done in darkness will eventually be shouted from the rooftops or brought out into the light. It says both of those in some way or another. And ultimately, if you continue to play the hand of destruction and death and damage and all those things, people are going to see it. We hope that people still have enough common sense and believers still have enough faith to say, we've got to continue to stand on that. And as we do, I think we'll continue to see more of these, but we also know the enemy's at work. And we're finding that out. We've got another huge case that the Family Foundation actually signed on to that is in line with this as well.
Another big case was argued at the U.S. Supreme Court this week, and there's actually been, if I'm remembering correctly, Greg, there's been now 4 very important cases the Family Foundation has signed on to amicus briefs, friend of the court briefs with some of our allies on in this ongoing term. But this one could very well end up being incredibly important, if not maybe one of the most important cases of this term. And this is the case Muhammad v. Taylor. You and I talked a little bit about it a couple weeks ago, but oral arguments were this week. This is the one that is out of Maryland, where their Montgomery County Board of Election essentially took away the right of parents to have notice and to opt out from LGBTQ storybooks. So just to set the stage here, this is even past, and I know you know a lot of the concerns about just the sex education topic and curriculum
where a
in
lot of this
general.
opt-in and opt-out stuff came into play.
Absolutely. This is even past that. This is talking about that they had a policy to force pre-K through 5th graders to have to be taught or read these LGBTQ storybooks.
Numerous times. Throughout the year,
all kinds of inappropriate content, teaching them about drag queens, about sex work, about
sex workers.
One of these books, Greg, that's gotten some media attention is a book called Puppy Pride. So I haven't read the book. I haven't read the book. It's not on my kids' summer reading list. But you can imagine the type of book that we're talking about here. A puppies designed to clearly catch the attention of young children to promote a harmful, destructive,
extremely harmful
ideology. And so thankfully, sounds like it was very interesting oral arguments, quite contentious, and as the Supreme Court goes,
and animated
between the liberal and conservative justices, it seemed like many of the conservative justices, if not all, were asking the right questions. Conversation talking about that this is actually forcing parents, forcing hostile worldview training that goes against what their parents want. And just if we didn't say this, Greg, the coalition that came together, the case is Mohammed v. the school district. It was Christian parents, Muslim parents, and Jewish parents that came together to express concerns. And again, the school district specifically put in place a policy that said, just on these
topics, those issues,
controversial
right.
topics and books, you are no longer allowed to opt out.
Didn't even give them the option.
And
Right.
one of the points
Right.
that came up in the oral arguments was the school district was trying to make the argument, well, it just wasn't plausible because we were having so many parents opt out.
That's right. That ought to tell you something, right?
It ought to. So instead of saying, well, maybe we shouldn't be teaching this if all these parents want their kids to have
Right.
nothing to do with this, really quite despicable content to promote.
Yes.
They just doubled down and said, no, we're going to take away the rights of parents to opt out.
And
And
that's
the right
the
of
key.
them to even be notified that it was going to be taught in the
Have a
first
voice
place.
at all.
Yes.
At all. And by the way, let me say a couple
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
David. It's good. You alluded to the fact that I've been through this for years. When we were doing the absence until marriage program, sexual risk
Yeah.
avoidance, the opt-in and opt-out thing became prominent in our schools.
Yeah.
And literally for listeners, if you don't know what we're talking about with that, opt-in or opt-out means you have to send something home with the parents, and if they just have no signature, what they say is that, well, if you don't sign it, you want your kid in it. That's what
Yeah.
most schools
Yeah.
will do.
Yeah.
But they won't tell you what the curriculum is.
Yeah.
Opt-in literally means the parent has to sign for their children to be in it, which most of them avoid.
Right.
And now they're saying opt-out. We're not even giving you the option. That's what this case is addressing.
Yeah.
So let me share something here, David. If you want to know something, listen to this. Quote, corrupt the young, get them away from religion, get them interested in sex, make them superficial, destroy their ruggedness, get control of all means of publicity, and thereby get the people's minds off their government by focusing their attention on athletics, sex books, and plays, and other trivialities. Same person went on to say, destroy the family and destroy the country. That quote is by Lenin, the architect of the Soviet Union. Are we not seeing that played out today, David, right here in this case and these issues we're talking about?
No, this is Marxism 101.
Yes, it is.
This is you separate, try to remove religion, and try to destroy the family ultimately.
That's exactly right. And that's the purpose.
And what is more destructive? One of the other things that was in this curriculum apparently was to teach kids that doctors really just kind of guess about what their biological sex is when they're born. Again, to sow
Pay
the
me
seeds.
their salary. I'll tell them.
Right. No, but I mean, so
Yes.
this is clearly indoctrination, and it's indoctrination that is designed to harm young kids by causing them to question the most basic, true reality of who they are, who we know ultimately God created them to be.
Right.
And so it is harmful and destructive, and the way in which the school district went about removing the right of parents to be
Exactly.
involved and to pull their kids out, it's very clear what's going on here. We
It
need
is.
to be praying for the case
Exactly.
and for a very, very strong decision.
Yeah, and it is by design. By
Yeah.
the way, don't forget the WKU drag show that we talked about last week. Please contact your congressman on that. The U.S. Senator seat and now the representative seat is heating up, right? With,
Yeah,
for-
a
in
lot
Kentucky.
going on. More to say is if you're seeing people enter in the race for different
Right,
different congressional
right.
seats.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dominoes are falling, as
They
you
are,
said, right?
yeah.
I want to remind you that on Saturday, tomorrow, I'll be speaking at the Mercy to You Women's Seminar at Highlands Baptist Church here in Lexington. So I'd love to see you come out and join us, ladies, if you want to do that. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for your prayers. Thanks always to the Lord. Make it a great day and God bless in Christ. I'm Greg Williams, and I'm your host on the